Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about how you can roll back in NixOS. There's actually a few different ways of rolling back stuff on NixOS that you may not be aware of that you may find useful. So first things first, the most obvious form of rolling back is of course something like this. So let's say you go to edit some of your configuration. So like I have a random configuration.nix here. This isn't my actual configuration.nix, but let's just say I make some edits to my configuration.nix. So like maybe I change my hostname to like, I don't know, I am stupid or something, and then I rebuild the system. And of course, this change breaks my system. So whenever I reboot, then I go into my grub boot menu or whatever systemd boot menu, and I'll see multiple different options. And so if one of the options doesn't work, I can just select a previous build that I know does work, that doesn't have the host name I am stupid, and then I'm all good to go. Now, that's obviously the first and most obvious way of rolling back your system. But one of the things that you might not know about this is once you boot into that previous working setup, it's not going to be the boot default. So if you have built a configuration that's more recent that is broken, it will not be the boot default. And so any subsequent reboots will have that broken setup. So one of the things that you can do once you boot into the working setup is you can navigate to /run/current system/bin. And here we have this switch to configuration. This is a binary, and this is actually kind of cool when you see what's happening here. If you try to run switch to configuration, it will actually show you some usage options. And these usage options should be pretty familiar. Whenever you run sudo nixos rebuild, you actually have a few of these options. The normal one that you use is switch, but we also have like boot and test and stuff like that. So if you want to make this the boot default, you can just run sudo switch to configuration and then something like boot or even switch. If you're already running it, switch isn't going to do much more than boot, but either of those will set that configuration that you just booted into that is working as the actual boot default, so that you don't have to worry about accidentally booting into a broken setup again. Now that we've mentioned that, I want to talk about the two different ways you can actually get a broken setup. So the two different ways you typically get a broken setup are you make a configuration change in your configuration files that breaks it, or you make an update to your packages and that is what breaks it. For me, I run the nixos unstable branch, and so most of the time the thing that breaks my system is new packages, but you may also have some configuration settings that, when changed in some weird way, will result in a broken system. Nix tries to not let that happen, but it will happen occasionally where you build a broken system that doesn't boot or doesn't work properly, or it could just be as simple as like your configuration files just no longer work or something like that. So how do we roll back a configuration change? Well, the best way of being able to roll back a configuration change is to track your configuration files via Git. And if I navigate to my actual .files here, these are my .files, and as you can see, I track my .files with Git. So every single change here, I have like 600 commits in here at this point. I could go back to any of these changes, and I could using Git switch back to some of those changes or revert some of those changes, which is a point that I'll bring up here. So in one of my previous videos, I talked about how you can set up your nixos config with Git, but I didn't talk about one of the features of Git, which is called git revert. So let's say you track your configuration in Git. So I'll go back to my .files, and I can look at all my commits via git log. This will show the most recent commits up at top, and then the later commits as you go farther down. You can see that. Now, these will also show the commit messages. So if there is a change that, so this will show commit messages, the sort of a timestamp along with them, as well as the commit hash. So that would be this string of sort of like random numbers and letters. Now, if you know which change was it that broke your system, odds are it's going to be like one that's pretty recent. What you can do to undo that change using Git is use git revert. And the way that git revert works, if we just open up the man page, here it is, git revert. So you just type git revert, and then you give it a commit hash. So something like this. So for example, if I went back to git log, and let's say that this latest commit broke my system, at least the configuration changes that I made, I could grab this commit, just copy it with Control-Shift-C, and then git revert, and then put in the actual commit there. Now, when you do that, it will make a new commit that is titled reverted such and such commit. I normally don't like to make extra commits automatically with the command. I like to do the reversion, so it changes the files, and then I will manually make the commit myself. And so if you want to manually make commits, you can use the -n flag, which is no commit. So if I did something like this, it would undo my changes from that specific commit, which hypothetically then that would fix the breakage in some sense. So I don't necessarily want to do this with my latest commit, but I'll show you it as an example. So git revert, blah, blah, blah. There we go. Oh, whoops, there's some permission errors. Okay, there we go. And so as you can see then, if I go to here, it'll show that it's sort of undoing some of the changes that I wanted to make here. It's sort of undoing some of the changes from my latest commit. Now, let's say I made a mistake, however, and I don't actually want to revert this commit now. I want to like undo that. The way I would do that is with git reset. And so for git reset, you would pass the branch name. So I usually use main, whatever it is. And if you want it to just totally scrap all of those reverted changes, you can use --hard. Now, just a word of caution with the --hard flag, that will wipe everything that is staged or unstaged. It'll just reset it to whatever the last commit is, like completely. So if you have any other changes that you don't want to get lost, don't mess with this. But I'm going to do that so that it undoes the stuff that I just did with that revert example. Okay, so that's looking at one way. So one way you can break your system is you made a configuration change in your nix config, and that made it not work. Another way that you can break your system is if you do an update, and that update ends up breaking your system. So if you're not using something like Flakes, then you're using channels. And the way you normally update your channels is something like nix channel --update. So you do that, it would give you a new channel essentially. And now every single time you rebuild your system, it'll be using that updated channel. The problem is, if the updated channel has broken packages in it, which is especially the case for nixos-install, or heaven forbid, if you're using the master branch or something crazy like that, you can get broken packages in your nix channel update. And sometimes the nix channel update will actually break your ability to rebuild with whole packages, because it'll prevent certain packages from even building, which that gets really, really annoying. It's not just broken packages, it's you can't even rebuild anymore. So what do you do to get out of this situation? Well, one of the things that you can do is look at nix channel -- list generations. So here, I don't actually use nix channels, so you'll see I only have 2 of them here. Well, I guess 2 and 3. And so here's the one that I just updated today, and here's one from like 4 days ago. Okay, so if I determine then, if I figure out, okay, this channel update broke my system, the packages are just breaking my system, I can actually roll back the nix channel itself, and that can be done with nix channel -- rollback, and then passing the generation number. So if I wanted to go to 2, I could just pass 2, and now if we go to list generations, it'll say that 2 is the current one. One thing I do want to mention though, and this is especially the case if you're using something like Home Manager. Home Manager, you're going to be calling as an unprivileged user. So you'll be using the nix channels from the unprivileged user side. But if you're rebuilding your whole system, then you'll be using the roots nix channel. So for example, if I look at this here now, sudo nix channel list generations, you will see that I actually haven't even updated the roots nix channel, and so that's sort of a separate thing. I could run sudo nix channel -- update, and then we could list generations again here. Yeah, it looks like that one doesn't even have an update available, but you can sort of see that these are actually different things, the user level ones and the root level ones. So you can manipulate each of them sort of separately. That actually is the default behavior. So pay attention to which nix channel you're using. If it's for like nixos rebuild, odds are you're going to be using the root one, so you'd have to manipulate it with sudo. And if you're using it for something like Home Manager, then you'll just need to use the user level one without sudo. Okay, now that being said, as you start to use nixos more and more and more, you will start to accumulate lots and lots of hard drive usage in your Nix store. And so one of the things that you probably should be doing is running the garbage collection command, which that is nix-collect-garbage. Now, please do not pay attention to that -d flag for now, because if you don't know what you're doing with that one, it is kind of dangerous. So I'm going to run the man page on it real quick. Here we go. So nix-collect-garbage will take old versions of your system, old versions of packages, and old versions of your channels and delete them to free up hard drive space. It goes without saying though that when you do this, you're not going to be able to use those older versions. So you always want to make sure you have at least one good working version before you call this. So you should only call this while you're in a known working configuration. If you call this on a configuration that you haven't really tested to see if it's working, or if it's just not working, don't call this, because then you won't be able to roll back very easily. And of course, yep, here's the note. Deleting previous configurations makes rollbacks to them impossible. So that's your word of caution there. Now, I'm going to talk about a few of the flags here. So two of the flags that you can use here are delete old and delete older than. So -- delete -old, also known as -d. This is the kind of dangerous one, because this one will delete everything that you are not currently using. More often than not, you'll probably want to use -- delete -older -than, because with this one you can at least pass a period of time. So for example, you could run the command and then pass -- delete older than 30d for 30 days, or 10d for 10 days, or 14d for 14 days. Both of those are available to you, although this one, delete -- delete old or -d, that one will delete everything that you're not using. Now this is where I want to make my my plug for nixos Flakes, because Flakes can actually help us get around this, get around the whole problem of garbage collection and also being able to roll back to previous versions of the system. So on a normal NixOS system without Flakes, NixOS uses a combination of both your configuration files and the Nix channels that are on your system in order to build your system. The configuration tells it how to configure it, and the channels tell it essentially what versions of packages to build. With Flakes, however, we have the flake.nix file, which tells NixOS where to grab all of the inputs from. There we go. There they are. Tells it where all the inputs are, and it also stores precise versions of all the inputs that were drawn in the flake.lock file, which we have right here. And I'll show you. As you can just see here, I have this input here, which is base 16, and it's specifying a precise revision. Base 16 Alacrity, precise revision. I'll go down a little more here. I have some Emacs packages. There we go, precise revision. Literally every single thing on my entire system has a precise version, a precise Git revision that it is drawing from. And the best part about this is that the flake.lock file is a part of the Git history. Oops. So for example, if I go to here, you'll see if I go to one of my commits like updated system, there's the updates to the flake.lock file right there. And what this means is, without Flakes, NixOS is drawing this version information from the channels. But when you garbage collect, that information is lost. On a Flake, with a flake.lock file, I have all of the information about the versions of packages on my system from the moment I started using Flakes, which if I go down here, that's probably, let's see here, when did I start adding Flakes? Let's see here. I don't know. Did I have them 6 months ago? I do. Yeah, I had Flakes 6 months ago. Where can I go back? Actually, I'm curious now. Oh, if I had Stylex, I would have had Flakes. Because, oh, here we go. 10 months ago. When did I actually get Flakes working? Oh, here we go. So looks like I have. Nope, that's not it. Okay, well, it was somewhere around here. I actually don't know exactly when it was, but the point is, any version inside of my Git history that I want to go back to, I could go back to it and rebuild that system with the precise versions that it had, and that goes all the way back to 10 months ago. And I am not storing these like 10s, 20, or like, I'm not storing that many versions on my system. I've garbage collected all of them. But if I wanted to, all the information is there in the Git repository with the flake.lock file, all the revisions on it, that I could rewind that file. I could go back in time, for example, like this, and I could just rewind to however far I want to go, however far I would need to go in order to make the system the way it was back then, without needing to store all of that on my system and take hundreds and hundreds of gigabytes of storage space. So if you're not using Flakes, this is one of the reasons you might want to consider Flakes, because of this ability to sort of infinitely rewind while simultaneously not taking up tons and tons of storage space. And in case it wasn't obvious here, the way that you can undo breakages for both the configuration and the package versions using Flakes is exactly the same. and that would be some version of git revert. And so if I go to my .dot files again, you'll see that I tag all of my updates as updated system. So here was an update I did. Here was an update I think I did earlier this morning. And if I search for more of these, there we go. Updated system, updated system, updated system. You can see I have that as a easy search tool. And so what I could do if I needed to is I could go back and revert an update if I needed to. I could just go back and revert that update to the flake.lock. As you'll see, this is just affecting my flake.lock if I needed to roll my package versions down. And if it was a configuration change that I needed to fix, I could just revert that change. So like here, maybe this, if that broke something, I could revert that. And it's the same thing as we were talking about before. Say, for example, that this update that I did this morning broke some things that I needed. I could just, again, go to the git log. So git log, I can go find updated system. Here it is. I can grab the commit hash. So here it is, Control Shift C, and then just git revert that commit -n. Again, I don't like to auto commit those reversions. I like to just have it there and then do the commit manually myself. So then I can do git revert, do that, and let's see here. Actually, I think I made some edits. Oh yeah. So this is another thing that I forgot to mention. If you try to revert something that was already changed after that, so like if you look here, I was trying to revert this one marked updated system, and that was editing the flake.lock. This one here also edited the flake.lock because I was messing with some of my inputs. And so if I needed to actually undo this, I would have to undo this one first and then undo this one. So if you ever see that that error message that I just saw there, so could not revert, there's a merge conflict, odds are that means that there's another thing in the way. So if I really wanted to revert those, I would actually have to go git log. I would have to revert this one first. So here we go. We'll revert this one. Git revert this one. See here. Oh, actually, it does look like it did something. Okay, I'm gonna just do a git reset. Main card. Okay, there we go. So here. So I might try to revert this one, and then I would revert that other one I was trying to revert to, and now it's all good. It didn't give any errors, and then I'd be good to go. I could then rebuild my system like normal. So nixos rebuild, home manager switch, all that good and fun stuff, and it would put my system back to where it was before. And again, I'm able to do this even if I had ran nix collect garbage and deleted those previous generations, which I think is super cool that you can do this and totally go back in time and get like a package version from really long ago. And I haven't actually tried this yet, but I'm pretty sure it's still possible to build versions of packages from like 20 years ago, or like however long NixOS has been around. I think it's been along for like a really long time. So maybe if I ever get that working, maybe I'll try building like 20-year-old NixOS in a VM just to demonstrate some of the package versions and the rolling back capability of NixOS. I think that'd be kind of fun if I can get it to work. I don't know if I'll be able to get it to work, but that's one of the cool things about NixOS and Flakes, actually. Flakes being able to make these rollbacks even if you garbage collect in your system and delete those previous generations. And before I confuse myself later on, I better reset this. I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope it helps you on your NixOS journey. One of the great features of NixOS is its inbuilt ability to roll back. And so I hope this discussion helped you learn a few more things about the rollback functionality inside of NixOS and how you can leverage it, especially if you're using Flakes. So I guess that'll be it for today. Before I go, I want to thank all of my supporters who have joined the channel as a YouTube membership or joined on Patreon or LiberaPay. I really appreciate your monetary support. If I've helped you out learning NixOS or any Linux or any tech stuff or anything, please consider monthly donations via any of those platforms. Links in the description below. If you liked this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you disliked the video, please leave a dislike and comment and subscribe. That'll be it for today, and see you all next time.